Hello everyone, I'm here today with my brother, Jacob Gray, and we are going to learn some more about how he decided to become an electrician and why he decided to go to trade school. So Jacob, what made you decide to go to a trade school instead of a traditional university?
Well, I think initially it was when I had signed up to go take classes. By the time it was my time to do the registration, there were no classes available to begin with, and that was what initially kind of tipped me away from going to college, was the fact that by the time you even had a chance to go to class, you weren't even going to be able to get any of them. So it was really just like a dead end to start off with. I think there was too many people going to school instead of other options.
What made you interested in going to an electrician school specifically?
At the time, it seemed like it was the most entertaining for me. It's also supposedly supposed to be like the cleanest construction job you can do. It's supposed to be the easiest because it takes a lot more of knowledge than it does just like brute labor force. And so if I figured that I have to do one of those jobs, that I would try to pick the one that was like the easiest. And so I ended up deciding to be an electrician. I think the biggest reasoning starts with the fact of just the cost alone of going to a traditional school could be $50,000 for a 4-year, whereas I decided to look into joining the union aspect of being an electrician, and the union actually, once you get accepted into their program, they pay for the school, and as long as you complete it. So effectively it was like going to school to get a 5-year degree for free, as long as I choose to do that job once I'm done.
Very good point. Are there any other major benefits that you found in that you went to a trade school instead of going to a university?
So the biggest benefits, I think, going to a trade school is that it's more geared towards what you're going to be doing for your job, whereas I feel like my friends that go to traditional school could be taking a class on astronomy or history, which are some of those things are important to know, but if you want to be an accountant, you might not need to know about stars, and that could be a waste of time. Or a painting class, a lot of times it seems like a decent portion of your time is wasted on things that are just kind of extracurricular. They don't actually make a difference. Whereas every time I'm going to class, it's to learn something that specifically is geared towards my job. So basically, you're learning things that pertain directly to what your job is going to be, and it's not going to be anything that you would feel like you might have wasted your time going to school to do. And I think that's a bigger part of it also, as well as that when you're in those classes, it's easier to follow and a lot more entertaining, and you feel like it's worth your time because it's directly relatable and you're going to be using it guaranteed.
Definitely. So I went to a traditional university, so I'm interested to learn about what your program was like compared to mine. What was it like when you were working? What were your classes like? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. So basically, the trade school that I was going to was also related to the job that I was doing, and by that they put you to work doing that job, and you work as a trainee throughout your time in the schooling. And so when you're doing that, I think it's a good situation to be in, because you're also getting to use what you're learning in class the same day or even the next week, or you might have been doing something but you're not sure what it is you were doing, and now you know exactly how to do it. And I think that is really beneficial in that kind of aspect. I don't think that you would get that same kind of learning experience when you're in a traditional school, whereas you might just be learning about how to be an accountant or how to be a doctor, or what things that you need to learn, but you might not get to use those skills that you've been learning for years or months, or maybe whatever the situation is, but it's not going to be directly applicable to what you're doing every single day.
And it's also a challenge because at a traditional university, it can often be hard for students to work at all while they're in school, or it needs to be something part-time because you might take classes 4 or 5 days a week, whereas what was your class schedule like?
So my particular schooling was 2 days a week. It was Monday and Wednesday, and then it would transition to Tuesday and Thursday for 3 hours. And that allowed me to have time in the mornings, which a normal work schedule for construction starts around 6 and then goes till about 2:30 in the afternoon. Gives you time to attend schooling afterwards, so it actually gives you the ability to work full time while you're basically as a working student.
So what do you think you enjoyed most about your program and your job?
Something that I enjoyed the most about my schooling program was just the fact that in my particular job situation, I'm going to be working with the same people for the next 20 to 30 plus years. And so it was cool, and it was kind of still gave it like a college experience because I started with these guys as a freshman class and got to develop a lot of friends that way. And it's also cool because as you're going through the program, you're also learning with these guys, and you get to meet a lot of people. So it's not just all educational lessons. It's also like you can learn a lot of life lessons and meet a lot of different people. And I think that that's a good time to be able to feel like you're growing as a person as well, not just educationally.
Very good. So what advice would you give to students when they're trying to decide whether to go to a traditional university or a trade school?
I think the biggest piece of advice is that when you're 18, you've just completed high school, that a lot of people will tell you that it's super crucial to know what you're going to do. And I think that when you're 18, it's important, but you should really spend time thinking about what that is. And I was lucky enough to be able to start working and going to school to be an electrician when I was 18. And I meet a lot of younger guys that have also started, and they're 19, 20. They're a little bit older than I was when I started. But I think that if a lot of people started when they're 18, that might be too young, because you're not going to really know what you want to do. And you have a lot of time to live your whole life. And so you shouldn't just immediately set that you're going to be going to this school for this amount of time and pay a lot of money and end up ultimately in debt. That it's not a bad thing to even go to community college and spend a little bit of time trying to figure out what exactly it is that you want to do, because not every job necessarily needs a degree. And in my case, I went to a trade school, and I still got credits, and it still was an accredited, basically like a community college. And so if I were to continue going to school, I could still get a degree. I have a majority of the credits to get an associate's, which is somewhere to start. But I have zero school debt, and that's because I looked at what other options there were. And if I did the whole 5-year program and decided that I didn't want to do that anymore, I still am only 24 years old, and I could go and spend 4 more years at college and have a degree along with my certificate to be an electrician.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for answering our questions, and we enjoyed this interview.
Thank you.